Hello everyone, back to you into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next 8 to 10 days in today's video. I think we're going to be seeing unsettled weather really coming up for the coming week to 10 days, although there is a signal as we get through to the start of March that we may start to build up a little bit of high pressure from the southwest end, so maybe turning a little bit drier and milder into the start of March. But overall it looks generally quite chilly next week and very unsettled, with some severe gales coming through at times. Some very deep areas of low pressure seem to be on the way. The Arctic Oscillation and the North Atlantic Oscillation are going very positive over the coming couple of weeks, so that's really going to enhance those westerlies, I think, and it could give us quite an unsettled spell of it next week. I'll show you the detail in a moment. Before I go on with that, just say about the ads. There's links to articles on most of the pages at GazWeatherViz.com. If you could have a browse through the widget, should be helping to support GazWeatherViz.com. Basically, the ads are paying for website, so if you can have a browse through those widgets and click through go off and read the articles, you'll help to pay GazWeatherViz, allow me to sit here talk to you via the website. Thanks so much for getting involved. Thanks for doing that. So let's start off with the observed and forecast Arctic Oscillation chart. Just to explain about the Arctic Oscillation, it's an index that really reflects the state of the atmosphere over the North Pole. It's not driving the pattern, it's not driving anything. It's an index that reflects the state of the situation over the Arctic. And the North Atlantic Oscillation is very similar. I'll show you the North Atlantic chart in a moment, and again that is a reflection of the state of the atmosphere rather than a driver of the atmosphere. So this is the observed and forecast chart for the Arctic Oscillation. This takes us right the way back into the autumn. We start here on the 1st of November, just here. And it takes us through winter. And you see that generally through this winter, the Arctic Oscillation has been in its positive phase, December 1st being just here. We did go a little bit negative for a few days at the end of December. Remember that little cold snap we got just after Christmas. The Arctic Oscillation actually went a bit negative then, and then again through the cold snap in the second half of January, but only slightly negative and only lasting a few days. Generally the trend has been positive really through the course of this winter, very positive at times. A little bit negative again at the start of February. You can see that the situation now is that we're just here. We're still a little bit positive with the Arctic Oscillation, but the red lines here are the forecast part of the chart. This is sort of a prediction from the GFS on about where the Arctic Oscillation will be going up to the 1st of March, which is just here. And you can see that the trend is very much upwards with these red lines. Actually, some of the members of the ensemble are going for record-breaking positivity with the Arctic Oscillation, going up to somewhere around here, 5 or 6 on the scale. I think that's probably a bit over top. We're more likely to be somewhere around here, I would suggest, through the second half of February into the start of March. But nevertheless, going very positive with the Arctic Oscillation. Could be a record-breaking positive phase. It really just tells us that the westerlies are going to be very strong over the coming week or two. We really will be bringing in strong zonal westerlies around particularly our side of the northern hemisphere, and of course that's going to be driving in Atlantic weather systems, but it shouldn't be overly cold. Some of these weather systems will have cold air entrenched within them because the air is originating from North America and Canada, where it's severely cold, of course, but it shouldn't be overly cold with these westerlies coming through. Certainly no sign of anything particularly severe. The North Atlantic Oscillation is very similar. Again, it's an index that reflects the state of the atmosphere. It doesn't drive anything. It tells you what is happening, or what has happened, and what is going to happen. So again, we start off here at the start of the winter, just there on December the 1st. You can see that overall the trend again has been very much positive. Just a few days at the end of December we went a bit negative with the North Atlantic Oscillation, but overall we've been in a positive phase of the North Atlantic Oscillation excuse me, through most of this winter. And the red lines at the end of the index again tell us that we are likely to be staying very much in positive territory through the rest of the winter and into the start of spring, 1st March, just there. yeah, we're very much continuing with the positive phase of the North Atlantic Oscillation. This was expected when I did the winter forecast. Part of it was based on the sea surface temperature anomalies in the Atlantic Ocean, and they were very much pointing towards a positive North Atlantic Oscillation this winter. That has verified. We have had a positive NAO winter, which means that we've generally been keeping westerlies coming through without a great deal of blocking. So that's the reason it's not been overly cold this winter. In fact, how positive the AO and the NAO has been, we've probably done well to get it as cool as it has. It's not been a cold winter, but temperatures shouldn't be coming out that far from the average. We've probably done quite well with that. Another year, this could have been a very mild winter, actually, with both these indexes coming out so positive. So this 500 millibar height anomaly flow chart for the next 8 to 10 days time just sort of shows you what the AO and the NAO was telling us, which is that we're bringing in the westerlies. We've got strong zonal westerlies coming across the Atlantic, with a very positive North Atlantic oscillation type setup. So we've got the east end of the Earth here on the left, the GFS is over on the right, and we can see that the blue colours here to the north of the country, with the orange colours down to the south and southwest of the country, means that we have a strong jet stream coming through the Atlantic, zonal westerlies blasting into Europe, and then the flow goes something like that, with a ridge of high pressure sitting across western parts of Russia. So yeah, it's a continuation of the pattern that we've had most of the winter, really, which is to be a westerly winter, and generally sort of low pressure to the north, high pressure to the south. That has been the mean sort of flow, the mean setup that we've had through this winter. Now, we've got all of this ridging up here around Alaska, and that has been the driver this winter for a lot of cold weather going down into the north of the east United States, and we've still got that in the next week to 10 days. This takes us into the start of March. There's no real change for America, so the cold weather goes on for them with this very deep trough here in the north and the east of the states, and that's, I think, the one thing that's gone in our favour in terms of not having a very mild winter. Hadn't been for this cold air digging through America, we'd probably have had a very mild winter, but because we've had so much cold air coming out into the Atlantic, that has come across the Atlantic Ocean in a modified form. Of course, the Atlantic does warm it to some degree, but it's come across the Atlantic, and it's provided us with a relatively cool winter given the pattern. As I say, the anomaly, the temperature anomaly for winter is probably going to come in around average, maybe a little bit above average, but given the positivity that we've seen with the NAO and the AO this winter, it could have been a great deal milder, actually. So the one thing we've had in our favour has really been this cold weather in the east of the states, because it's kept the temperatures at a more sensible sort of level. Although we had a very similar pattern last winter, and that was a very mild winter. So just going to show you how you can get a very similar pattern, and you come out with different sort of temperature anomalies. Now, we've had a look at the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles. You can see that we're very much keeping it unsettled up to the start of March. So this is the 1st of March just here. We're sort of up and down with the temperatures. We're in that zonal sine wave type pattern with colder sectors and warmer sectors coming through. I've explained this in the videos earlier in the week, that because it's so cold in America, these colder sectors as they come through are probably colder than they would normally be, actually. So once you average all this out over the coming week, we may in fact come out a little bit cooler than the average, and normally in this sort of zonal sine wave type pattern we would come out a little bit milder than average, but because the coldest sectors are a little bit colder than would typically be expected in the zonal pattern, we probably come out a little bit below average. Now we get through to the start of March, say this is the 1st of March just here, and then there's a little bit of a warming trend going on there. There's a lot of scatter, admittedly, so I wouldn't necessarily be running away with the idea that it warms up into the start of March, but there is that idea there within the ensemble that the temperatures are lifting up above the red line, which is the 30-year temperature average. Precipitation spikes coming through up to the start of March as well, so it's going to be quite a wet period, although there is a little bit of a drying trend notice into the first week of March, coinciding with that lift in the temperature. So it hints at high pressure through the start of March could be building in from the southwest, turning it a little bit drier and a little bit milder. The temperature anomaly for the coming week from the 19th to 27th of February shows going to be around, maybe even a little bit below average, not really deviating too far from normal. Look what's it going to be like in America, though. The big freeze goes on for them. Maybe moderating ever so slightly in some of these central and southern states, but still very cold anomalies. And up to the north and the northeast, the temperature anomaly stays around 20 Fahrenheit below average. Even for the coming week, they're going to have a big snowstorm there over the weekend. You'll be hearing a lot about that on the news around Friday, Saturday. Going to be very, very snowy in the northeast of states. Of course, some places like Boston are already absolutely deluged with snow. There's more on the way. For some places, this is probably their equivalent of the 1947 here. It's turning into a very extreme and prolonged and snowy winter for some northern and eastern parts of the United States. There's no end in sight really for the northeast. Coming back here, a precipitation anomaly for the coming week shows we're going a little bit above average with the rainfall. So it's going to be quite a wet week. We saw that with those precipitation spikes on the ensemble. Yeah, I think we're going to have the rainfall coming out a little bit above the average. There could be some wintry conditions in with that at times as well. So here we go into the start of next week on the generic GFS, and we've got this deep area of low pressure to the north of Scotland, bringing in these westerly to northwesterly winds. Quite cold air coming around that low pressure. It's a colder sector as that low pressure clears off to Norway. So could be some wintry showers on Tuesday. Turns milder into Wednesday as the flow backs into west of the southwest, but bringing another weather system through. So that's into warmer sector. Then on Wednesday with some outbreaks of rain coming across the country. Wet and windy, proper wet and windy conditions into Thursday. We get rid of the warmer sector. Notice the air goes back up towards Greenland, or the ice bars go back up towards Greenland, telling us that the flow is coming back in from a colder direction. So we lose those milder temperatures we have on Wednesday and replace them with colder temperatures as we get into Thursday, very much up and down type temperatures. For Friday, we're into a bit of a northerly then, so showers could turn increasingly wintry to the end of next week. That could be really quite cold, but by day 10, into the start of March, certainly the 1st of March, so first day of spring, and we bring this milder sector back in then across the country if we just extend out a little bit beyond that. There is the suggestion there that the high pressure through the first week of March could start to build up from the south and turn it a little bit drier and a little bit milder, especially for southern parts of the country. I can see temperatures getting up towards around 14 or 15 Celsius if that was to come off, so a little bit of a burst of spring. Have a look at the ECMWF. It's all very similar for next week. Strong westerly is coming through, and that's why the North Atlantic Oscillation and the Arctic Oscillation is going to be very positive up to the end of the month. Strong westerlies could be quite mild for a time. Wednesday, then turns colder into Thursday and Friday, bringing wintry showers into the north and west, in particular around that area of low pressure. We end up on day 10, so the 1st of March, just giving signs hinting that the Azores high is starting to build up from the south, possibly giving us a drier and warmer spell, or milder spell anyway, for the first week or so of March. And then finally the GEM, the Canadian model, strong westerlies dominate. Could be really quite stormy if that comes off Wednesday into Thursday. Low pressure clears away into Friday. We open the door to that northerly wind. More of a northerly on the GM, but it often overdoes these things, so that will be wintry showers coming down across many parts of the country. But by day 10, again, it's very similar to the ECMWF as it usually is, with that high pressure building up from the southwest, turning it drier and milder potentially for the start of March. So it looks like we're going to end the winter on an unsettled note. We're going to have a very positive Arctic and North Atlantic oscillation, which means the westerlies are going to be dominating. And yeah, we're going to be bringing bands of rain through next week. It'll be quite stormy, potentially at times, particularly Monday, and then maybe again around Wednesday into Thursday. Temperatures up and down, but overall probably coming out a little bit cooler than average, and that's because the air in the colder sectors will be a little bit colder than they would normally be. For the start of March, just the hints that we could get some drier and warm weather and early taste of spring, perhaps. that's it for now. I'll be doing Jam A Friday tomorrow, so come back to that. That's all for now. Thanks.